Hello, everyone. Welcome to Own Your Wellness. My name is Julianne Meyer. I am the host, and I am excited to be here today. I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while now. This is going to be so amazing for all of you who are watching. And I don't even want to waste any time talking about 4th of July or any of that business like I might normally do. Let's just bring on our guest. Her name is Elle Ingalls. Let's bring her on. Welcome. How are you? I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here too. I love your logo. I love your intro here. That broccoli and burpees thing, that really caught my eye because I often say that pressure-free living is the third leg of the stool.
Amen. Amen. I 100% agree with that. You know, I work with people and I'm like, okay, what is your intention behind it? Are you adding pressure and stress to your life to reach these goals, or are you doing it because you love yourself and because you want to live healthier and be healthier and have more fun and enjoy life?
It's so true.
So I would love to just jump right in and have you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your own wellness journey.
Okay. When you asked me to think about that a little bit, there's three pivotal moments that kind of got me to what I'm doing right now. And I think people can really relate to them. The first is when I got really injured. So back in high school, I was a runner. I wanted to run in college, was training really hard in the wrong shoes. And we didn't know a whole lot about shoes in the late 70s. And so I ended up ruining my knees.
Oh, man.
I would hardly even walk, to be honest, Julianne. I mean, it was bad. And so I didn't want to leave my team. Like, I loved my team. And here I was injured. It just threw me for such a loop to not be able to even exercise, It's like taken out. And so I went to the coach and said, asked them, can I apprentice coach with you? Can I learn from you? And can I help out? I'll come to every practice. I'll go to every meet, just like I'm on the team, but I'm just like got a clipboard and I'm helping. And so, of course, they wanted extra hands and they said, sure. But I took it super seriously. And I was at everything. And this little thing started to happen where, we were a girls team, but at the big meets where we were with the boys too, there'd be this little line of students who wanted me to help them calm down before their big events. And I've been performing on my violin since I was young. I know how to take the stage. I'm never nervous on stage. Like it's just the way I had grown up. And so I had all these little secrets to help them perform well, especially in those big meets. And so I think back to that now. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was like this little kernel for what would become something far more profound than I ever thought it would be. So there's that. And then we fast forward to, I think it was 1987. So we've gone from 1979 or 1980 to 87. And I was a grad student and conducting at the University of Michigan. So I was actually the first woman to conduct the symphony there, which was pretty cool. And I got assigned to work with this clarinetist and perform with him in the big hall at University of Michigan, Hill Auditorium. So it was a beautiful concert, and we felt great about the performance. And backstage, he goes to me, that was so good. Will you play your violin on my senior recital with me? Because we just are in sync. It would be so great. And of course, I'm all hyped up and excited. I'm like, yes, I'd love to do it. And then I went back to my apartment. I'm like, oh, crap, I have to practice. So, I kind of shifted. I was not practicing my violin as much, but it's no big deal. I mean, I practice, rehearsals go great. And, when they talk about how 90% of people are afraid of public speaking, it's really not public speaking. It's that there's somebody in the room. Somebody in the room, because you can put a group of people in where you can talk all day and it's easy, but you put this one person in the room or a group of people in the room, and that's what freezes you up. That's what causes you to go into fight or flight. Well, when we walked out on stage for that recital, which is now in the tiny hall, usually there's just like a handful of people. This kid was so popular, it was standing room only. I didn't expect that. So I'm like, wow. And then I looked to see who's out there. My violin professor and all the string faculty, they're all there. Now, I didn't expect to see that at all. So those were the people in the room that I didn't expect to see. And I went into what we would call today, called it stage fright, but full-blown panic attack. Like I couldn't see the music. My hands were all sweaty. My heart was beating out of my chest. My face was so red. I was like, I'd never experienced it before. And for anyone who has had a panic attack, like it is scary. I didn't know what was going on. I got backstage with tears in my eyes and I'm like, oh, Dan, I ruined your performance. And he goes, what are you talking about? So I was enough of a pro that I played okay. It wasn't my best playing. I listened to it. It wasn't my worst playing, but it wasn't my best playing for sure. But I was so out of control that night that when I got home, I thought to myself, this can never happen again. I can't stand in front of an orchestra and have a mental breakdown like that. Like, what was that? And so we didn't have the internet or our fancy phones or anything back then. So I had to go to the library. Right? And in this case, thanks to the University of Michigan, I went to the medical library where I had already done some work on a paper before. And I just asked them, like, I want everything you can get me on mind-body connection, high performance, like what happened to me. I wanted to figure out what happened to me and have it never happen again. So that was this other little moment in time in my life where I didn't even have a word for what I did, but I just had these ways to take the stage, calm, cool, collected, confident. Kind of back to how I always was. But in this case, I had to have little tricks to do it. And I would be so calm that I had one professor, a conductor, who used to stand in my energy before he took the stage, not talking to me, right? Like he's talking to other people. And one day I called him out on it. He goes, you just have such calm energy backstage. I just want to be in that for a moment before we go out there. So I kind of had mastered this thing. So now we'll fast forward to 2010. And my two older boys were playing on the same high school baseball team. And the oldest son says, Mother, why don't you teach the team these mental toughness tips you teach us to perform well, and your violin students? We would be amazing. And I just started laughing, like, who wants their mother in the dugout? That's crazy, right? And he was completely serious. My middle son was completely supportive. And so I just started writing that weekend. Now I've written a book, Pressure Free Parenting. My second book is in the editing phase, Pressure Free CEO. Like, I'm a writer. I never thought of myself as a writer. So I wrote this little pamphlet. My husband is a professional writer. He tightens the language, throws in some baseball graphics, and I take it to the coaches. They're completely supportive. In fact, one of the coaches hires me to be his private coach. He was in the financial sector, and he says, I just need this. It's 2010 at the time. And I start working with the boys. It was incredible what was starting to transpire for them. So kids who would normally have 2 strikes on them and kind of give up were suddenly hitting with 2 strikes on them. The team had an issue. If they were down, they couldn't come back to win. They would give up. And as we started working together, there was a classic game where the team was down 9-0, and they came back to win 13 to like 10 or 11 or something. They won.
Wow.
So
I love that.
That comeback, and I'd forgotten about that. My son recently reminded me of it. He goes, that was the pivotal, that was when he knew Pressure Free works. Like, this works. And so my sons are my early adopters, my early clients. I've since worked with hundreds of people, thousands in groups, to teach them a very simple way to, I refer to it as breaking the stress cycle. Because it's like a cycle of things that happen inside your body. And most of the things that people learn about stress or are told by their therapists, by their physicians, they're all nice things to do, but they don't actually get right to the root of the problem. And I know this because I've trained psychologists, therapists, and physicians, and they never drilled as deeply on fight or flight as I have as a performer, because I had to. It was like I didn't have a choice. So this is going to be real fresh, what I share with you tonight, and it may I'm going to dispel a few myths about stress, and myths that if you're living under them are actually harming you, like you don't even know. So
no, I love that. And I want to get into the myths, especially because, and I think that maybe this question is part of that. I'm curious a lot, especially in our society, we're so used to having this stress be a part of our daily existence that a lot of us don't even notice it anymore. It's just we accept it as what it's supposed to be like, as opposed to something that we don't have to, experience. Just because it's common doesn't mean it has to be normal. And
oh my gosh, it's so good. So yeah, we have created a really stressed out society. That is without a doubt, especially the last few years. And so what we would think today is normal really isn't normal.
Yeah.
For example, I was working with a speaker, and he said to me, we're working on this, and I asked him a question. I go, so when you go to take the stage, do you have to go to the bathroom just before you take the stage? It's like, oh yeah. Even though you just went like 20 minutes before, you have to go again. That's a sign that you've triggered fight or flight. People will say too, they'll say, oh, the butterflies are good. You should feel some butterflies right now. And honestly, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to. And if you do, and you keep doing what you're doing with those butterflies, it's hurting you. Like, there's a better way. You don't need to feel those butterflies. And people will just say it's normal. Well, yeah, it is a normal physiological reaction to fight or flight, to the fight or flight stress response. That is true. But is it normal for us to repeatedly be doing it? No. The only reason we should trigger the stress response is if we're truly under attack.
It makes me think of, because I worked in addiction recovery, and people sometimes get addicted to that feeling.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Adrenaline is addicted. It's a drug.
Yeah.
Adrenaline is a drug. Hello, my name is Elle, and I'm an adrenaline addict. Like, I thought it made me powerful to be operating at that high level. And at the same time, I thought I was a calm, cool professional. So I was living under, here's one of the myths, that you have your big day. You have your stressed out day. And I'm just one of those chicks that can do a lot in a day, like wide bandwidth. So you have your day, and then you exercise, do yoga, meditate, pray, take a bath, like whatever you're going to do for self-care, and you'll be fine. So my parents operated under that same myth, because they were very active, very professional people. Like, so that you do your day, and then you relax at night and on the weekends. That's your time, and you'll be fine. And of course, that's what my father's physician was telling him. Just, you have your work day, but when you get home, don't bring work home. Really relax with your family. But that's not how stress works. So that was a total myth, and I lived under that myth until 2010. Because yes, I had these little mental toughness tricks for performance, but I was missing a really key piece that came into the research I was doing in preparation to work with those baseball kids. And that was this. Do you have a question before I go?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So it's not enough to be calm right before your big events, whatever it is you're doing. It's actually, and I don't want to even use the word calm, but to be optimal, you need to prevent the release of the fight or flight stress response all day long and all night long, to be optimal in what you're doing, which sounds impossible, because maybe you're with your physician and they say, hey, you need to slow down or take time off. Stress is really seriously affecting you. You need to de-stress. And that freaks out people too, because a lot of people don't even want to be told to slow down or take time off. The high achiever does not like to hear that. And some people simply can't. Let's get real. If you're supporting a family or even just yourself, how can you take off 3 months?
Exactly.
I mean, how can you do that and feed yourself and stay alive? And so it's like conundrums that people are put into when they're told that they need to lower their stress. And that creates even more anxiety.
Exactly. Now I just keep thinking about, all the times when I thought, okay, I need to relax now and I'll do something, and I don't end up feeling rejuvenated.
Yeah. And
I just feel tired still, or
yeah. And
and then
here's
I start all
why.
over again, same thing.
And sometimes it's like we need the vacation from the vacation, right?
Yeah,
You take the
exactly.
vacation, but that has its own stressors and its own situations. And we're not going to get rid of these stressors. We're
No.
not, in fact, you'll probably take on more challenges the more pressure free you become because you're going to have an even wider bandwidth and you're going to get much more productive because your
Mhm.
brain's going to be working better. So, the reason why you didn't feel better is because the stress response works in a way where there's a cycle. And for males, the cycle lasts up to 9 hours. But
Mm.
for females, the cycle lasts up to 24 hours. So there's a huge gender difference, and that explains a few things too. And again, individuals are different. We could pull out a couple of people and have a very different kind of scenario. But in
Mhm.
most cases, if a male and a female have an argument, a few hours later, the male's cool, but the female is not.
Yep.
In fact, she's still mad the next morning because we're biologically still in the fight. And the only thing I've found in my research is that because for millennia, men were taking care of fighting tribes, fighting the
Mhm.
animals, and protecting the women and children, their bodies had to recover faster in order to keep up that pace. And I guess we were just worrying 24/7 about our males out there fighting. So,
Oh, that's
so, um,
fascinating.
so this stress cycle is what I really empower people to understand and
Mhm.
learn. And then what I do is I help them use very simple things. I'm going to share a few tonight, but I actually have over 40 little tools in my tool belt
Wow.
because people are so unique and so
Mhm.
complex. Like our traumas are complex. All the things we've gone through, all the things we're currently experiencing is just enormously complex. So I've built over 40 ways to stop this stress cycle from occurring.
That's
And
amazing.
it is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just think about when I was working in addiction recovery, I literally was on call 24/7
Oh,
for years. I mean, even
yes.
when I was on vacation, I would still get calls.
Right.
Now I
Yeah.
think about that, and I still have an aversion to my phone because
Oh my gosh.
because
Yeah.
every time that thing would ring, it meant
Yeah.
something.
Oh, yeah. And, you're bringing up a really great point that those of us in the helping fields, any helping field, it's easy to take on secondhand stress.
Yes.
And the stressors that we have are very different for that. Like you said, the phone,
Mhm.
just knowing someone is going to need your help. Um, the thinking about patients and clients and then all the things that go down, it's just really complex. And so, yeah, it's actually why I built a certification program to help people who in the helping fields
I like that.
not only protect themselves, learn this method, protect themselves, but then be able to teach it to their patients and clients. So,
So, would people be able to find that through your website?
yeah, actually, yeah, the the on the website you'll see certification right as one of the things in the top banner, and you can just click on that and go to a page that describes it for you. But
I love
yeah, and you're bringing up, when you're working with people who are really struggling,
Mhm.
um, there's so many paths that can take. Like it's just it's an endless like spaghetti bowl of what's going on. Um, and then we'll trigger adrenaline about that. Even
I
just
love
thinking about
that.
it. Hmm.
So, what else can people find on your website?
Okay, so on this website, there's a link to my private coaching page. So coaching. And there you can just see, what it is that how I actually work with people, what it's like, what the program's like. Um, Let me see. There's a little about page. I think that's it. It's pretty
Fairly.
simple. It's a pretty simple page. You'll see some testimonials too. And I have a new testimonial up from one of my clients. She's brand new to pressure free and in my certification program. So she's learning to master it and teach it at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And this young woman is so humble. I never knew any of this stuff about her until I met her mother, actually. She
Wow.
is two-time All-American skier. She's from Canada. She's one of the top athletes in North America.
Wow.
So two-time All-American, female athlete of the year at UNH, and nominated Woman of the Year in 2020 for the NCAA. But her season was cut at NCAAs in March when COVID hit. Like she
Ah,
did one run and then they closed everything down.
oh
Isn't
no.
that crazy?
Yeah.
So who knows what would have happened if that season had finished out for her?
Yeah.
It's one
Mm.
of those things where some people got caught in that 2020 and everything disintegrated for them. Like everything they'd worked for so long, you know?
Now that's stressful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And now she coaches skiers, and now she's coaching skiers and athletes in pressure free as well, which is really fun to
I love
have
that.
that be a
I
part of
love
it.
the idea of teaching it to children, especially because can you imagine? I mean, especially with the way that the bullying is. And, I just remember how much stress I would feel just going to school, even sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I did a live on that yesterday about the stomach ache. So
Mm,
do how many times do children wake up and they say to their parents, "Oh, I have a stomach ache. I don't want to go to school."
yeah.
And then they go to the physician and the physician says, "Well, there's nothing wrong with you. All the tests are fine.
Hmm.
It's in your head. It's stress. It's psychosomatic." Well, if your stomach hurts, that's physical, number one. Like it's
Hmm.
physical pain. And when you're in pain, it's so easy to go into fight or flight. Fight or
Mm.
flight causes the pain, and then it keeps you in the pain. And so then you go to school and you can't remember anything for your test because you're so wonked out because you've triggered these stress hormones that shut down areas of our brain we need to think clearly.
Never
So
even thought about that part of it, but it makes sense because, you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that got you into it. So if you're stressed about it, then you're definitely not going to be thinking optimally. I love that word
yeah.
optimal.
It's funny because, I used to say, "Okay, I'm going to help you move from negative to positive mindset."
Hmm.
And then I decided, no, so most of us are on an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to shave off the tops and bottoms and lift the whole thing up.
I
That's
love that.
that's optimal mindset. That's
Yeah.
it really is when you are mentally and physically in the zone and everything is working instead of you just being your own worst enemy and just fighting. Um,
Exactly.
and
And I
it's
like the idea of it because that seems to me a lot more doable as opposed to trying to never be unhappy ever and like
you know, it's sometimes we're nice, sometimes we're mean, right? It's just
just is
life,
the spectrum.
it just is. And we beat ourselves up for all those times when we weren't acting the way we thought we should. In
Which
fact, even
adds to
things from
stress.
junior high where you go back and you're like, "Oh, I was such an idiot. Why did I say that to her?" We'll play back those loops and that will keep us up at night still.
You know what's funny that you would say that because it was in grade 6 and there was a girl that her name's Holly and I was so mean to her one day and it haunted me. And I recently, well, now it's been a couple years, but I literally apologized to her about that day and she's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about."
Right, right. Yeah. But see how it haunts us? I mean, it really does. Wow, it's funny.
All these years. I mean, it's been like 30 something plus years. And I have been, upset about that. And she's like, "I have no idea."
Wow. It's
I'm
funny
like,
you mentioned children. I mean, we're thinking about when we were young, but I've coached as young as 10, and they tend to be high achievers, like either in academics or sports or music. Um, but honestly, I've coached teachers, and teachers have taught kindergartners, first, second grade. My method is in heart, and when students learn it,
mhm.
it's incredible. They actually want to share it with everybody. Like they'll just start sharing it, and they'll want to help each other because you'll start to see when someone is going into fight or flight, and you're like, "Oh, I'll help you," right? You just
Mhm.
want to. And I
Exactly.
think it's really is kind of the deepest love as for our family, how we protect each other from going into fight or flight. And
That's amazing.
it is really working with families who really support each other in that way.
Hmm.
You can create real transformation and prevent so much mental and physical anguish and pain. Um, there's too much of that.
There really is. On that note, it is time for us to go to a commercial break. When we
Okay.
come back, we're going to get into some of these tips and tricks and all that fun stuff. I can hardly wait. We'll be right
Yay.
back, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Before we head into commercial, I want to say hello to everybody who is watching us live, and we will be back very shortly. So just hang tight for a moment. Are you someone who is struggling to move forward because you suffered a loss? Maybe you're even finding it difficult to complete the most basic tasks. Are you looking for a way to start enjoying life again without feeling guilty or the resistance to do so? Spiritual life coach Sarah Stockham saw a need for people who haven't learned how to grieve without putting their entire lives on pause. And so she created a program that solves this issue called Choosing Life Right Now. This program is simple and you can do it on your own. If you are ready to learn how to feel your grief while still being able to smile, to honor the sacredness of what took place as a loss, and yet still continue to live with joy, and if you'd like to take care of your whole being with grace and love, then I'd like to invite you to experience her new program called Choosing Life Right Now. Sarah is currently offering her program for the promotional price of $77, but it won't stay at this price for long. To learn more, check out her website. The address is on the screen.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us now, my name is Julianne Meyer, and you are watching Own Your Wellness. And today's special guest is Elle Ingalls, as I was trying to cough. Let me get that out. Let's bring her back. So give me 1 second while I pause. I was trying to cough at the same time as saying your name, and I've managed to choke it back. All right. Anyway, so I would love to start talking about some of the things that we can do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's just dive right into the method. I'll teach it to you right up front here. 3 simple steps. The first step are targets. So targets are anything that you're aiming for. For example, if it's a work thing, you might be looking for a promotion at work, or you need more money coming into your business, or just more acknowledgement. So there's some sort of target around your performance, how you're performing your day even. The next is health. So a lot of people come to me for health reasons, and they can vary from what some people might think are minor things to pretty major things. So maybe you have a health target, and that could be that you just want to be in remission from something, or you want your blood pressure to go down, or you don't need medication anymore, or some of those things. Mental health as well. So what are your mental health targets? if you have a diagnosis, and a diagnosis is just a compilation of symptoms. And you don't have those symptoms all the time. So it's like you want less of your symptoms for this particular diagnosis, could be one of your targets. And relationships is another piece. So sometimes people are like, I just need to be getting along better with people at work, or my partner, or my children, or my parents. You know, what is it that needs to shift there for you? So anything you need to shift or change, or prevent. So some people say, like, I never want to get diabetes like my father. That's me. So I never want that disease. So that's on my target list. And honestly, Julie-Ann, sometimes people say to me, Elle, I just need to feel happier. Like my state of being is affecting everybody around me. And I feel guilty about that, which makes it worse. So I just need to feel happier. So it could just be an emotion that you want to have. I had one mother say to me, I just need to be more in control of my emotions.
Yeah.
It's just bubbling over all the time, and it's not good. So everyone has kind of a different slant on what their targets are. But if you can write down, 1 to 3 things, sometimes it's just one thing that if that would shift and change, your life would be better. And you can also ask yourself, like, what's keeping me up at night? What needs to shift or change? So that's your target, and your targets fuel using the next 2 steps. When you're aiming for something and you've got it present in your mind, it really helps you move there. So the second are triggers. And in 2010, when I created this method, nobody really used that word. And of course, we hear it all the time now, all the time, for all kinds of reasons. I hear girls say, you just triggered me. It's like, oh, it's everywhere. Okay, so triggers. Triggers are anything that make you feel these emotions. Annoyed or angry, anxious or afraid, ashamed, argumentative. So what do you argue about? What do you feel shame about? Fears, any kind of fears. And then, of course, anxiety. That's probably the biggest one. But some people go right to annoyance and anger, which kind of falls in a continuum. Like, you can be a little bit annoyed, and then like full-blown hot. So anger and annoyance. So you just simply ask yourself, okay, what makes me feel those emotions? And you'll start to be able to list out your triggers. And they can be very humorous. They also can be really sad. So when my clients are working through what their triggers are, some things will really come up. And that's why I'm really here to help and guide. But a lot of them are humorous. Like, one of mine was my door sticking. I live in Michigan. It's humid. So the door frame swells and the door will stick. By the way, no one else in the family seems to have this issue when they go to that door, but it was an issue for me. I now live in my Barbie dream house. We call this the tree house. It's like a 3rd floor condo penthouse. We're in the trees, right? I think of it as my Barbie dream house because it has doors that do not stick. That is pretty darn cool. So I was triggering the stress response just thinking about, like, unconsciously thinking, is my door going to stick today, before I even got there? And then we pile on. Do you ever do the pile on? Like, okay, so the door may stick, but the only reason I'm using that door is because the garage is so full of crap, I can't put my car in there, where I would use a different door, right? So we go on in our heads, like, poo, poo, poo. We just keep piling on. So that's an example of a trigger. I think of a baseball player I was working with said how long his sister takes a shower. So it could be something very simple, or more in depth. So you just kind of start to think about, okay, what do I habitually trigger the stress response over? Now, how do you know that you're triggering the stress response? Every person I work with feels it differently. It's amazing. You can read the textbook about fight or flight and parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system. Here's what I can tell you. People are doing all kinds of things when they go into fight or flight. They experience all kinds of things. I have people who have instant diarrhea and others who have been constipated their whole life. I have people whose faces turn red and some whose turn white. I have people who feel it in their chest, like chest tightening and heartbeat pounding. Other people don't feel that, but they feel a tension headache and their jaw hurts and they've got tension here. It's all head centered. And then for some people, it's right in their gut. Like they feel nauseous, their belly hurts, they feel the butterflies, they can't eat, or they binge eat. It's like
stuff those feelings down.
Yeah. It goes both ways. Or you'll binge click, find me something good to watch, right?
That's me.
But everyone is different in how they feel it in their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're feeling are the symptoms of the first flood of hormones that are called catecholamines. I call it a cocktail because you're now under the influence of these hormones, which are like little drugs doing all these things to your body. But one of the big things it does is it shuts down your outer brain and your hippocampus, your thinking and remembering, your decision-making, your willpower. That's why if you binge eat, you can't stop. Like you have no willpower.
Mm-hmm.
That's why with an addict, they have no willpower because they've gone into fight or flight. Fight or flight is the thing that is it's the root thing for ADD, ADHD, any sort of addictions. Like it's the root thing because it shuts down our ability to control ourselves. All we're supposed to do is violently fight or flailingly run away. Peeing and pooping the whole time so whatever's attacking us doesn't touch us, right? Let's get real.
Lighten the load so you can run faster.
Let's get real. Like that's all we're supposed to do. And so it's not controlled perfect running form.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy because we're trying to get away from a true attack. And now today we're treating all these little triggers as the thing that's releasing this first flood of hormones. Most people can feel the adrenaline. And again, some of us I used to like it. I do not like it anymore because I know the ramifications of it. So there's a second flood of hormones that goes out later to fix the brain cells in your extremities, which is why you might get cold hands and cold feet. By the way, if you have a cold hand, cold feet problem, they'll say, oh, you have a thyroid issue.
Mm-hmm.
You have a thyroid issue because you have a stress response issue.
Interesting.
Okay? So stress hormone release is the cause of all chronic mental and physical disease, or it exacerbates any disease you already have. So that is the root. And this second flood of hormones are called glucocorticoids. So glucose and cortisol comes from the outer skin of the adrenal glands, different place, right into the bloodstream. And it has a great purpose, again, to fix these cells. However, it has a lot of negative side effects. It messes with your thyroid gland. It drops your immune system. It shrinks your bones and muscles. So osteoporosis, lack of muscle tone as we age. And the other thing that's happening with both of these floods of hormones, especially the first flood, since we're not digesting our food properly, our skin and all our body parts can't get the nutrients they need, including our brain cells.
Exactly.
So I suffered for 35 years, age 13 to age 47, 48 or so, with eczema all over my hands. Like I could never get a ring on this finger at all. It was cracked and bleeding and swollen for 35 years.
Painful.
I tried everything. So I thought I was a calm, cool professional. And I tried every prescription, everything, diet, everything, and it would never clear up. Until 8 weeks of using this method on myself, my hands cleared up. And they've been this way for now since, 12 years.
I love that.
This is amazing. It's just amazing. Other things happened to my body too that were so profound. So get clear about those triggers. We've got targets, triggers, and now the third step are tools in the 10-second solution. I'm going to give you a couple tools tonight. One is a combo tool that's really great at getting you started in this method. But again, doubts creep in for people like, oh, I don't think I can do this, or my triggers are just so horrible, or my situation is so hard, or, all those things. And here's what I'm here to tell you, like, no matter what is happening, you deserve to have a beautiful life. And I don't want to get teary-eyed, but you deserve to have this human technology, to use it and to play with it. Don't try too hard because that will trigger the adrenaline. Just play here. And if you start to get just a little bit of traction, I want you to super celebrate it. Because every time, it's really profound if you think about it. Okay, every time I went up to my front door and I hadn't triggered the stress response, I just saved myself.
Yep.
Until the next trigger comes, I just saved myself and gave me quality life.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't walk into the kitchen and start binging chocolate because I didn't feel the need.
Yeah.
It's like there's there are all these repercussions from just one release of the stress hormones. And when you start to deeply honor yourself and say, you know, I'm worth figuring this out.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal always with my clients is that we go the whole day without triggering the stress response. And that day you hit the reset button.
Exactly.
In fact, one young woman, she'd been in chronic anxiety for 2 full years.
Wow.
Honestly, she told me she had not felt happy in 2 full years. And diagnosed everything in 2.5 weeks. It's the shortest any of my clients have done it. In 2.5 weeks, she went her whole day.
Oh, wow.
Most people, it's like 4 to 8 weeks in, because we have all these habits and reactions we're trying to clear up. But her desire to feel happy again was just so strong that she broke the stress response, or the stress cycle that I refer to, in 2.5 weeks. So she hit that reset button. But, you know, then the doubt comes in. Can I do it again? And once we get stringing like 2-3 days, I've gone more than 90 days without triggering the stress response. It's like phenomenal. And of course, we're human. I'm human, and it's going to happen. And my husband knows immediately. My whole family knows immediately if I trigger the stress response, because I'm like a really awful patient, right? And it just, because we move into those behaviors that aren't so nice. And so it's pretty easy to see when someone is really caught up in the stress response, because their behavior shows it. And it's why we lose sales in business. It's why, you know, so many things break down when we're constantly in stress mode, including our businesses and our health and, of course, our relationships. So tools in the 10-second solution. From a resting heart rate, you've got up to 10 seconds to interrupt and prevent the brain from charging up your heart, from releasing the flood of hormones, the cocktail from your adrenal glands. Now, 10 seconds is plenty of time to smile.
Yes.
You might not feel like smiling. And people, I've seen articles in the last 5 years or so saying fake smiling doesn't work. Like, that's been all over the place lately. And I'm like, here's the deal. They don't know the timing. If you can smile in the 10 seconds that you first start to feel the trigger, feel the emotion, and you smile, you keep dopamine flowing in your brain. And you can interrupt the stress response. But if you've already triggered the stress response and you're trying to smile, it won't work.
Yeah.
So the timing is the piece. The timing is the critical thing. And again, that's also something we have to play with, because you've been reacting to things since you were in utero. So we have a lot we have to untangle. It's like when our hair gets like so snarly. My hair was that way a little bit ago here. I tried to comb it. Okay. I was like, we had to untangle it. Okay. It's just like that. It's like our stress response and our triggers are just so entangled that we have to be patient and kind of untangle them. This is so funny because before 2010, I was very impatient. I'm an early bird. You better be on time, kind of girl. I'm an East Coast girl too. Like, right?
Too.
Okay.
Right? I get it. I know
Like,
exactly what you're talking about.
Finish people's sentences. Just like, come on, Midwest people. You got to get it going. Right? This is terrible. It was terrible. And it hurt my relationships.
Yeah.
And so some people recently said to me, oh, you're so patient. I'm like, that's the greatest compliment you could give me, because it wasn't how I used to be. But living pressure free, I hold space for people. Like, I really hold beautiful space for people, and patience like I never knew I even could, because now my brain is working right. And so now I can just hold that patience for people and support them as they're doing their thing. So asking yourself, what can I do in this 10-second window of time to prevent the release of the hormones? You'll get answers because you're asking an empowering question. Empowering question is actually, it's a pressure-free tool. It's one of the top tools for many of my clients because we often ask the wrong questions. Why am I so stupid? Why can't I earn this money? Why don't people pay me? All these questions, and we're going to get all the answers that do not serve us.
Exactly.
So, the quality, one of my coaches, Robert G. Allen, says, the quality of your questions determines your answers. It determines your life. And so when you ask, how can I heal?
Mm-hmm.
How can I be supportive here? The answers will come for you as long as you don't force, but let it be from inside. Let it be empowering this way. So empowering question is a really cool little thing you can do right in that 10-second interval. The big starter tool I want to give you, I call it the celebration Ferris wheel, because I want you to celebrate even when you notice the trigger. So here comes the deal. Here comes my door. Okay. I'm going to push my arms in the air and get this little wheel in front of me spinning. So that wheel was the hamster wheel that we all are in, running ourselves ragged because our weight is inside the wheel. Mm-hmm. We're not going anywhere. And it's very depressing. So I want you to get out of the hamster wheel, come around, and just push your arms in the air to get this thing spinning. So go ahead and do it with me. Just push in the air.
I like that.
It's very silly, so you will smile.
Yep.
Smiling keeps the dopamine flowing. And then in my research, I was trying to figure out, what are the quickest ways for people to create new habits, change up what's happening here. And a gross motor motion, which is why I have you push your arms in there. Unless you go like this all day, we got to find a different thing for you to do. Okay? But most people don't do that all day. So when you do that, your brain actually goes, something's going on here. It creates new neural pathways, and you can change a habit much faster than if you don't use emotion. So
I love that.
I know it's funny. So you're doing that, but do it again. And this time leave your arms in there and bring them down slowly without changing where your ribs are. So push up and then come down, and you'll notice that your ribs we got higher on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So our ribs are in a higher position. It's like you're up and over your situation so you can start to solve it and see it. You're gaining perspective. For some of my clients, they like words. So gain perspective is one of their slogans so that they know, okay, I'm going to gain perspective here. No reason to trigger the stress response because somebody didn't do the vacuuming, right? So these simple little things. So you've got this window of time. You get to play with it. And again, the Ferris wheel or big motion is going to get the habit retraining much faster. Dopamine keeps flowing, which keeps the lights on so you can think, have willpower, make decisions, think and remember, have a good memory. Remember the person you just met. Right?
What was their name? Yeah.
What was their name? Oh, there's so many little things. And so if you can, again, gently play instead of try, because try creates some tension. It's also a cop-out.
It's also not fun,
It's not fun. And, stress is already, I use a lot of humor when I work with people because you got to have fun here. Stress is a downer.
Yeah.
And you've been caught up in it probably for a long time, maybe in ways you didn't even know. And when it kind of is elucidated for you, you'll kind of be like, oh crap, I've been doing that for 40 years or, whatever it is. And that's what I did. I get so hard on myself. I'm like, okay, we got to change that. So in my course, I go deep on those things. We start out with just some basic tools to get people going. And then we go deeper onto mind tools. I call them mind tools, and then deeper body tools. And then one type of tools I created, they're called life design tools. And it's fascinating to me how many people really, those are some of their favorites. Yeah. And it's unique. I have really unique ways of talking about time management and goal setting, because one of the biggest benefits of pressure-free living is that when you really master this method, one of my clients, she worked with me last year and she spoke to a group recently, said, yeah, I gained 3 hours in my day, 3 hours. I gained an hour and a half to 2 myself when I made that break in 2010 at the 8-week mark when this all cleared up. And I actually asked my guys, I go, can you give me the honest truth? Did I used to complain, bitch, moan, blah, 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 up to 2 hours a day because I seem to have extra time? And when you're in this stress mode, you don't even realize what's coming out of your mouth. And you don't even realize some of the behaviors you're spending hours in. Hours.
Exactly.
And that's what my clients find. It's like, wow, so much time has opened up for me because now I can think straight and I can be more productive when I'm working.
It's fascinating because I think about all those times, like that time that I worked in the rehab. I mean, I was literally working or on call for 24 hours a day. And I got so little actually done. Now that I work for myself, it's kind of like I can work really strongly for, say, an hour and get way more done in that 1 hour than I would in an entire day at my last job. So,
oh, incredible. Yeah, it is incredible. Stress takes us out and we're not even really aware of how badly, again, because we think it's a new normal.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's a badge of honor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I tried that, running a symphony. I was like, look how hard I'm working. Wouldn't you pay me more? No, that doesn't work.
No, exactly. And at the end of your life, you're going to be like, woo, I worked so hard. I didn't do anything else.
It's really crazy. So yeah, people get more time in the day. And actually that can then be this issue for them. Like, what are they going to do in that time?
Yeah.
We get to open that up. We're going to be like, okay, let's dust off some of those dreams you had when you were in kindergarten. What did you want to be?
And you'll have that energy to be creative enough to figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting to talk about energy too. I was at the beach one day during the daytime and there were 2 construction workers taking their lunch. And I asked them if I could, they saw me writing and they asked me what I was doing. I said, well, can I ask you a question? I go, are you married? And they both were married to women who worked in offices. And I said, okay, when you get home at night, who's more tired? You guys have been doing construction all day. They've been in the office all day. Oh, the women by far. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, we want to go play golf or, but they're too tired.
That is fascinating.
So like 80% of our tiredness, it's emotional and we're fried because we're in fight or flight all the time.
That makes sense.
And when you back that out, you just have so much more ability to have a really beautiful life.
Well, we're basically, can you believe it, at the end of the show? I don't even want to be done yet. I just want to mention again, this is your website and this is where people can come find you, work with you.
Yeah.
And you said you have different programs, also coaching?
Yep. So private coaching. I also speak to groups of any size. So if you have a group that could benefit from Pressure Free, I do workplace trainings. Nice. And I have my certification program for people who want to be able to share this, even in their own families, but go through a deeper course with other people as well. And so, yeah, you can find that all at elleingalls.com. I also have a little free series you can sign into, and you'll see a little button too to have a free consultation with me. So I give a free pressure-free strategy call with anyone who would like to know more.
I love that. Well, Elle, that is all the time that we have. Darn it.
So great.
It goes so fast. It always does, but this time it went really fast. I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today, and hopefully we'll have you again soon.
Yeah, we can go deeper. It'd be fun.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, and we'll talk with you soon.
Thanks.
Well, everyone, that is all the time that we have. Monday, 4th of July is going to be a rerun because I'm going to be out celebrating. So enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you again on Thursday. Bye for now.